Okay, so today we are gonna work on creating interactive visual force pages. Okay, what's an interactive visual force page? Where the end user can interact with the page in terms of making some changes, then saving the changes, these kind of things. Right? So far, it has just been the data is being displayed, but we are not able to do much on that data, right? So for making anything interactive where the end user can do something on the page, there is one component which we need to use, which is an apex form. Okay, so any particular section on the page which needs to be made interactive, where you want the end user to come and enter some value or save something, that section has to be put inside this form. Right. And then inside the form component, you have the option of putting certain things like you want to create an input field, you want to create a button, or you want to create a link. Those things can be done inside the form, right? So whether you want your end user to type in some value, whether you want him to click on some button, those things can be created, but these all things will come inside the form component. All right. Okay, so let's just go to Salesforce and see how it will work. Sorry, I was away for a minute. Yep. Okay. So coming back to the discussion of the interactive page, right? So what you need is you need a form component first of all. Inside the form component, whatever you want to put, whether you want to put an input field or you want to put a button or a link, whatever you want to put, you can put it. So let's let's just start with creating a page. V3 is what we did yesterday, I guess. Okay. Let me put a page block here. Put a title for the page block. Interactive page. Put the page block section. These are all not required, the page block and page block section. I'm just putting it so that you guys get used to looking into these components. Collapsible equals false. Okay. Now, to display the data from a field, what we can do, we can just write something like this. Name. Right. To display it, we can write it this way. Account.name. It's not showing any data because we need to supply the ID. So let's go and pick up an ID. Put it here. Question mark ID equals. Alright. So if you try displaying something like this, then what happens? Your data is read only. You cannot edit it. Right. At the same time, there's another way of displaying the same data using another component which is called an input field component. If you want this field to be editable, then you should say apex input field component, and in the input field component you have to use an attribute value. In the value you have to define which field you want to display. Okay, so this account.name, instead of putting it just like that, what I've done is I've put it inside the input field component. Now this input field component is a component which can hold the text where you can type in the text. Okay, but as I said, all these kind of components, interactive components, need to be put inside the form component. So when you know that you are gonna use some input field kind of a component in your page, it's better to create a form component somewhere at the start of the page and close it right before the close of the page. Do you see this? Account name. Now this is an editable area. You can just make the changes the way you want. Clear? Uh, Basically, the number of columns here is 2. That's the reason why I'm seeing these things in two different columns. If you just want to make number of columns equals 1. Okay. Now, good thing about input field component is that it by default comes with the label also. So you don't have to type in the label. It will automatically take the label of that particular field and display it here. Alright. Same way if you want to put one more field here. So you should just say input field value account dot industry some spelling mistake, yes. See, it will automatically take the type of that field also. Like this is a pick list, so this input field will take pick list. Fine. Now this is how we can actually include the input field components in our Visualforce page. Now the next question that you will have in mind is, when I make some changes on this field, does it update the database also? Are these changes being committed to the database? The answer is no. Just making some change here. If I make Burlington Corporation here instead, does this mean that this is going to get saved in the database? The answer is simply no. It will not get saved in the database. Alright? So it won't get saved in the database. If you actually want to save it in the database, then all that you have to do is you have to create you have to perform a save action to save the changes. So one Apex form component will allow you to bring input field components into the page, and you have to perform a save action to save the changes. Now the save action is used on another component which is called a command button or a command link. Okay. Now save action can be used with a command button or a command link. So you have to create a button and put that action on this button. So let me create a button. Apex command button. Command button requires two attributes. One is value. Value is what do you want to display on the button. What text you want to display on the button, that should be written in the value. Let's say save it now. So this is your value. Okay. Second is action. In action, you can define the action like save, something like this. Here it is. Now if you make any changes here and click on the save button, the changes you have made will be saved. Right. US. Click on save it now. The changes got saved. See, name of the account has changed. Clear? Right. So that's basically about the command button. Command link is more or less similar to the command button. Only difference is going to be in the way it looks. Command link will display you a link kind of a thing. Command button displays a button. That's the only difference. Otherwise, both of them are same, attribute wise and everything. Right. Now, when I make some changes here on this page, and when I, let's say industry, I will change it to chemicals, for example, and I click on save action. What exactly the save action is doing? The save action will save the changes and take you to the detail page, the standard detail page of that record. All right. The changes are committed to the database and you are taken to the standard detail page of that particular record. Got it? So that's what a command button save action is doing. What if you don't want to move out of that page? You want to save the changes and stay on the same page. Now what is happening? When I click on this button, it's saving and going to that page. But sometimes it may be a requirement that you just want to save the changes and stay on the same page, maybe for some further editing that you want to do, right? So for that, there is another action which is called quick save. Okay. So for that, there is another action which is called quick save. What do we do with this quick save action? Quick save will save the changes. It will commit the changes to the database, and it will then not kind of the changes will be committed to the database, but it will not move away from this page. It will continue to stay on the same page. Okay. So quick save is also to be used on the command button component only. So let me create one more button, and in that I will use quick save action. Apex command button value equals, sorry, save on this page and action quick save. Okay, now this one has the action quick save. Quick save is meant for only saving the changes and then staying on the same page. It does not move out of the page. Now change it to biotechnology. Save on this page. It makes the changes in the database and it stays on the same page. So you do not move out of the page, right? So depending on your requirement, you will basically use either a save or a quick save action, right? So that's how we can actually use our uh, form components or the interactive components on a Visualforce page. Clear? Any doubts or questions that we have on this? Anything that you want to ask?
Yes, Jeet. I was about to ask you if you want to change the label of the input field, because you are saying as it automatically taking from the field name, that if it's account dot name, then the label is coming name. If it's account dot international, label will come industry. But if you want to change the label, okay.
One second. This should work. Yeah. So on that input field component, there is another attribute which is called label. If you want to give a custom label, so by default it will take the label of that field. If you want to do a custom label, then you can just use this label attribute.
Okay, and what about if you want to show some success message to the user? As we know that command button, this value equals to save on this page, action equals to quick save. After quick save, we don't know if it's saved or not.
Hmm.
If you want to display the message to the user, then how we can do this?
Okay, so if you want to display the message to the user, there is a component in Visualforce also which can help you do that. We will talk about that sometime later. And you other option that you have is you can also use JavaScript message thing. So you can display the message, a pop-up message using JavaScript or the Salesforce message component. So we'll talk about this Visualforce message component later on. So there are two approaches. You can do that. That shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
Right. All right. Anything else that we want to ask, or uh, any difficulty understanding what we have discussed so far today? Interactive components, and it's pretty easy. Now, because this is a standard controller page, here you do not have to do, I mean, you don't have to do much because the page itself is connected to a record. When I say save, the record knows what to save and where to save and everything. So Visualforce page automatically understands that, okay, this is what needs to be saved, and it will automatically save that. Correct? So that's the thing. That's a good thing here. Can you guys just give me a quick minute? I'll just. Yeah. Okay. So that's about the interactive components that we use. Now we'll start talking about the next type of controller, which is the standard list controller. Okay. Standard list controller is used for displaying multiple records on the page. So the way we have been using standard controller is just for one record. Standard list controller is meant for multiple records on the same page. Okay, for multiple records on same page. So if you want to display a list of records, then use standard list controller. If you want to display one single record on a page, a detail page kind of a thing, then use a standard controller. Okay, so let's create a page and you guys will understand how it works. So let me create a new page. This time I'm creating a page to display list of records. Right. So I'll just go and say standard controller equals account, and I will say one more attribute which needs to be defined here, which is record set var. Okay, so when you want to display list of records along with standard controller, you have to use one more attribute, which is a record set var. This is basically a variable. Record set var, as the name suggests, it's a variable for the set of records, and this is just a variable, so you just have to give it a name. It can be anything, a b c d x y z, whatever you want. So record set var, let me call it um, xyz. Okay, now, so now what exactly we have done, we have chosen an object, account object. So I want to connect my page with the account object, and I have defined a variable. Now this variable holds the list of records from account object, as simple as that. So now all that I have to do is I just have to create a page block section, a page block or something like that. Okay. Now, because I want to display multiple records on a page, I need a table kind of a structure. Correct. Now I'm not talking about displaying one record. XYZ is a variable which holds multiple records. Now, because I'm talking about multiple records, I have to use a table kind of a structure. So we can use a table component to format table here. So we have an option of creating table. There's a component called fx page block table. In the table component, there are two required attributes. One is value. In value, you need to define what data you want to display in the table. Okay. The data that I want to display is X, Y, Z. The set of records that need to be displayed in this table is X, Y, Z. Okay. And one variable. Variable is again a variable for this particular equation. So for one record out of this list, you can name it anything you want, X. Now inside the table, after the start, between the start and end of the Apex page block table component, all that you have to do is you have to create the columns. Now we need to create the column components. Apex column value, X dot name. Okay, then I need a column for, let's say, displaying the phone number. So instead of just displaying one record, what I'm doing here is I'm defining the columns, and the column will hold, the first column will hold the name, second column will have the phone number, third column can have the industry, and the fourth column can have, the third column can have industry, the fourth one can have type. So whatever fields you want to put. See, so account name, phone, industry, type, all these columns are there, and we are able to display the data on the page, right? Now this time I'm displaying multiple records on the page. Got it? So this is how simple it is. So all that we are doing is we have defined a standard controller exactly the way we did last time. We have defined a variable. This is something new. There's something different from the previous example, from the standard controller. You have to define a variable to hold a list of records of this object. Then you have to use the table component. In the table component, there are two required attributes. One is value, one is the variable, right? Or var can again be anything. So this is again a variable for one instance of this list, right? Then you create a column and you define that what you need to what you want to display in that particular column, right? You want to display name in the first, phone number in the second column. So in that particular order, things will appear here, right? We clear on this? Let me know if there is any question or doubt on this particular thing. Simple, the way we are creating a list of records. All right. So,
Okay. Yes,
yes, right.
Ajit, basically it's saying all the accounts in this table all the accounts are there.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Now, so we will do a small activity now. I want you to create a page to list all the contacts. Okay, and the fields that I want to display are first name of the contact, last name of the contact, email, and phone. So these four fields I want you to display. Create a page where you display all the contacts, first name, last name, email, and phone. Can we quickly do this? For your reference, I'm displaying the code also here. The standard list controller code is being displayed here. So his question is basically that if you want to change the header, this is what you're asking, right? Header you want to update. Instead of phone, if I want to show phone number. So in the column, there is an attribute which is called header value. You should be able to go to header value and type in whatever you want to display. That's it. Right. Okay. So we have created page with which can display the list of records. We are good at this point of time. Now, what if I want to use an interactive field, input field kind of a thing in a column? I want this phone number to be editable. How do I do that? How do I reach there? How do I create a editable phone field, phone column? Because it's not just about one field, it's about the entire column. All right. See how we'll have to do that. I'm removing that attribute for some time so that you guys don't get confused between too many things. I have to put an input field inside that column. Okay. So first thing that you have to keep in mind is, because you're going to use an input field. So before you actually start using input field, let's go ahead and create a form component. Form component will come here. Okay. Now you have to put the input field component inside the column. So all that you have to do is, you just have to see how it works. You have to start the column component and you have to close the column component. This is how it is done. Start the column, end the column, and in between the start and end, put your uh, in between and start and end of the column, you put your this thing, input field component. The input field component is there. You want the input field component to be used here. Value should be used here. X dot phone. See. Now I've created one more column, but this time inside this column I have put one more component. So if you have to put some other component inside the column component, then you have to start the column component and you have to close the column component. All right. So this is how it is. When you do this, then your header will be gone. How do you bring back the header? Use the header value attribute on the column component. Phone editable. Click on save. That's it. Right. So this is how it works. So the same way you can bring in the save component and the save button and all that stuff. A save button on this particular standard list controller page will save all the records. All right. So any updates, any changes in any of the record will get committed to the database. All right. Let me create another page. This time I'll create a page for opportunities. The same standard list controller page. This time I'm going to create it for opportunities. Standard controller opportunity fix. Okay, it's going to be list controller, so we will need a record set where also. Fix page block. Title of the page block is list of opportunities, fx page block table, value will be ops, variable is going to be o, or whatever you want to put, x column, value o dot name, amount expected, revenue, close date, stage name. Your standard list controller by default works with the uh, view that is selected here. Okay. Okay. So the list of opportunities is being displayed. Now, if you do a count of the opportunities which are being displayed on this, you will find there are 20 opportunities being displayed on this page. 2020. All right. However, there are more opportunities which are not being displayed on this page. So in a standard list controller, by default, it displays only 20 records on a page. A standard list controller page by default can display only 20 records on a page. Right? Nice. If 20 records are being displayed, and now how do I look into the other set of records? If there are more than 20, how can I look into the other set of records? For the other set of records, you can use you can use a command button and use the actions. For standard list controller, there are 4 actions. One is next, one is previous, one is first, and one is last. Okay, these 4 actions can be used on standard list controller page. Next action will take you to the next set of 20 records. Previous will take you to the previous set of 20 records. First will take you to the first set of records, and last will take you to the last set of records. So to use the action, we need command buttons, right? So after this table, I can create apex command button. Value can be next, and action also needs to be next. Value, whatever you want to put, you can put. I've put next here, but you can put whatever value works good for you. Previous, previous, it's getting saved.
Hello.
Yep.
Manjeet, actually, I'm not able to see the changes, or you're not able to hear the voice.
Sorry, you're not able to.
Okay, now you typing, or you are in pause status?
Sorry, what is that? Hello. Yeah. So as we were discussing, we have created two command buttons here, one for the next and one for the previous set of records. Click on save. Okay. You're using command button and you have not used the form tag, so that's the error that it gives. Put a form component and then go to this and click on save. No, sorry. This form should end before the page. That's it. Now if you click on next, it will show you the next set of records. See, these are the records which were not being displayed earlier. If you click on previous, it is going to show you the previous set of records. We call this pagination. It's very simple to do pagination with standard list controller. 20 records per page by default. Click on next, you will get to see the next set of records. Click on previous, you get to see the previous set of records.